Welcome to In the Know with Nina. I'm your host, Dr. Nina Crowley. I'm the Director for Clinical Education and Partnerships at SICA, where we partner with healthcare providers to offer body composition solutions. I'm so excited to be joined today with Chelsea Blanding. She's the Wellbeing Program Manager for ACT's Retirement Life Communities and senior living organizations. They're all across the East Coast, and they're kind of a new type of organization for us to be partnering with. So I'm really excited to talk to Chelsea about their experience. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Nina. Thanks for having me. And I'll share a couple of quick facts about ACT's Retirement Life just to give our listeners an idea of what our organization entails. So we're a continuing care retirement community in 9 states. So we have 28 campuses across 9 different states: Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. And we house a lot of residents. So we have about a little over 10,500 residents that live within all of our communities, and about 8,500 plus team members that work for ACT's Retirement Life community.
Wow, that's a good ratio. Well, and I was able to visit your site down in Fort Lauderdale, or Boca.
Boca, yes, Boca. Yeah.
And it was great. It was just a really different vibe. I know we tend to see a lot of body composition in offices and outpatient centers and fitness facilities. And so this is, for me, very new and innovative. So I'm really excited to see this, kind of putting body composition across the lifespan and really, kind of figuring out where it can be, and where, just making it standard of practice as something like a vital sign, like weight. And so that's fantastic. But yeah, I wanted to we're coming up on a year since the meeting, the International Council on Active Aging. So this is a meeting that we went to where I connected with some folks on your team before you got there, and we started the conversation. So it's our annual visit, because we're heading to go to that conference here shortly. Mm-hmm. So I thought maybe you could share a little bit about, what was going on in the culture at your work that, got everybody started thinking about body composition.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little backstory: for over 50 years, our organization has really successfully operated on what we call a life care contract model. And the premise of this model is based on moving into an ACTS community, into an independent living home, and, enjoying all the amenities that our community has to offer. And so when health issues arise, residents can move into assisted living or any other supportive living. But really, our culture is changing, and we're seeing a need and want for more well-being initiatives. And so that's why we realize that this is a necessary change. And we're calling it My ACTS Life, Your Signature Wellbeing Experience. And I like to point out that the your is there for a reason, very intentional, because we know everyone's well-being journey is very personalized. And we acknowledge that there's an individual uniqueness and supportive personal choice in creating pathways, if you will, to a life journey of well-being that really integrates the body, mind, and spirituality experiences that are consistent with our ACTS mission of loving kindness. So it's part of our multidisciplinary approach, and includes all of the elements that I just mentioned: life experience, spirituality, emotional wellness, primary care, as we have our in-house nurse practitioners, nutrition, fitness, rehab, cognitive well-being, the whole gamut.
Wow. Well, I definitely felt like I wanted to move into a community like this. I feel like when you leave college and before you get into a community like this, they don't have that. And so
yeah, we're definitely breaking barriers, and it's not what people, think of it as anymore these days. I like to refer to it as a cruise ship on land. So, we have all of these amenities, we have all these dining experiences, activities, fitness centers, pools, recreational sports on our campuses that the residents can offer. So it fits nicely into our well-being initiative. And another piece of that I'll add is we've realized the importance of technology in being an ally and promoting well-being for our residents. And so we're looking at utilizing different pieces to make informed decisions and goals and aspirations for our residents, and working alongside them.
So are they pretty tech savvy? I mean, and tell me about age range too, because I think that for me, that was a kind of going to these conferences and learning that, like, the recommendation is kind of before you have a problem, before you need help. And what, like 55 or even,
60, in the later 60s, later 60s. But Yeah, the age range varies. We're seeing the younger population, baby boomers are coming in, but I don't quote me on this, but I think our average age is 82-ish,
Okay.
maybe. But again, we are seeing the younger age, the baby boomers moving in, and so it varies. We see residents that are really into technology and have no concerns or issues with it, and then we do see some residents that aren't adopting it as much, I guess. So we like to put processes in place too to make them feel more comfortable and see the value in it. And it's their choice if they decide not to use it, that's fine, but we're there to support them however.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think, even for us in our body comp device, we have a really robust cloud based software, but we also have the ability to print out, a PDF of the results. So I think that's actually really important when we think about targeting that person at their own, finding that personalized, individualized approach, which has a technology component. So that's a good point. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad to hear that's the approach. It sounds fantastic. I really feel like I mean, what, sooner than later need to be thinking about this, at least for my parents.
Yeah, and at least start planning it out. And of course, the overall goal is to keep the residents in their independent living home as long as possible. So we're excited that we're moving in this direction of well-being and changing our culture.
And it sounds like I remember you guys doing a four-pronged approach to all this well-being stuff. So this has been a big shift, right? This is kind of a part of what your role and what you were brought in to do.
Yes, yep. So I was the fitness director in one of our communities for the last 6 years, and the role that I'm in now as a Wellbeing Program Manager is a new role. I've been in this role since January, so it's exciting that we're seeing needs and wants for different types of roles within the community. So yeah, I'm very thankful.
Love that. Well, so I wanted to ask sort of what are you guys seeing as the utility of body comp in your communities and kind of maybe talk about some of the benefits. I know we did a pilot where you were able to, at that one center in Florida, have the device, see how people responded. We spent a lot of time on the front end of that. So I wanted to hear kind of how did that go?
Mhm.
What are people talking about the benefits? And then we can talk maybe about a couple of the challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yes, as you mentioned, our community called St. Andrews Estates in Boca, Florida, we had a pilot there where we started out with 30 residents, and the whole idea was to involve them in all of our well-being initiatives that we're implementing and trialing at this point, since it is a pilot, and allow all that feedback from the residents involved and the team members at the community. And so, as part of our well-being our well-being initiative, are assessments that we have begun implementing. So our residents can participate in a whole comprehensive set of assessments that includes a physical exam pre-visit and a physical exam with our in-house ACTS nurse practitioners in our wellness suites. It includes what we call a Thrive screening with our fitness and rehab department, and it includes a fitness assessment, a new nutrition assessment with our dietitians, and even emotional and mental well-being assessments, spiritual assessments. So it makes it really multidisciplinary, and the team members across all of the disciplines are working together to make action plans and touch points for our residents. And so we wanted to include body composition as part of our assessment process. So we originally thought maybe this would be part of the pre-visit physical exam assessment, but we've seen a really nice place for it in our fitness assessment process, knowing that the other disciplines would be able to see the report, and if there was a concern, they could address that with the nurse practitioner or maybe the dietitian if we're seeing we need to change their diet to enhance, muscle mass or muscle strength. Um, so it's been nice. We've seen it fit in with our wellbeing initiative. And the residents, I would say, we're seeing a variety of benefits from incorporating body composition into our wellbeing initiative. So they're provided a personalized plan, and it includes the reports that they get from their body comp. We can build, goals with the residents, next steps, as I mentioned, touch points between different departments. And I think the residents, from what I've seen and some of the feedback we've gotten, they're excited and intrigued by it. So, for example, we've seen residents who have barely participated in any type of fitness or exercise program use the body composition analyzer machine, and now they are incorporating some type of exercise into their daily routine. So that could be any of the group fitness classes that are offered on campus, or one-on-one personal training with our certified trainers. So it's really cool. I think there's something to be said about the residents that are active, and maybe they've been doing the same exercise routine for a year, right? And they haven't changed it. They like what they're doing. That's fine. But then even they get on the machine, and now we're seeing them change and maybe incorporate more strength training, for example. So I think it's cool that we see active residents now changing what they've been doing for the past year, but we're also seeing residents that haven't been so active now incorporating more exercise because of the body composition analyzer report that they're getting.
Wow, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really exciting. Well,
Yeah.
and that's why we're doing this, and trying to make sure that we can really connect not just information and data, but actually connect it to behavior change. So
Yes.
that
Yep.
is really cool.
And I'll say our residents, they're excited to see those data points and the numbers behind it. And they ask questions. So they see the report. If there's something that they don't understand on it, they're asking and very interested in learning more about it. So it's been great to work alongside them and learn together, really.
And I remember when we were initially talking, one of the challenges up front was having people who have probably a very long history of watching their weight and watching those numbers and kind of being a little obsessed with, what is their weight or what is their BMI. And we're here kind of offering something, better, more insights. And so, I know the challenge at first was getting them off of that number. If they saw
Mm-hmm.
their BMI a little bit elevated, saying, okay, I need to lose weight, and really having that be the surface level discussion. So how has that gone with some of those? We had a couple clients that we had talked about in particular, but if that's been a theme, or, what are you guys seeing there?
Yeah, I would say that was definitely one of our initial challenges that we saw with implementing the body composition in the community. So we wanted to make sure they weren't getting, just like you said, too caught up on BMI or their fat mass percentage, because we know there's something important about that protectiveness of fat in this population. And so we really focused in on education and communication efforts within the community to help them appreciate the benefits of tracking muscle mass, body fat percentage, but not getting too caught up on the numbers, and seeing where we can make some adjustments and changes in their everyday lifestyle to help either maintain or improve if there's some level of improvement that's going on too.
Yeah, and there's different numbers and metrics that we look at. A lot of my time is spent with the obesity care community and people wanting to lose weight from adipose tissue. But as we're aging, it really sort of shifts that focus to making sure that we're looking at muscle mass and protecting that, even at the cost of keeping that weight up when
Mm-hmm. Yes.
they're trying to sort of change their composition.
Exactly. Yep. And it's worked itself nicely in with our dietitians as well in that nutrition assessment, because if they're incorporating more strength training into their routine, as you know, we may need to discuss what some dietary changes would look like with enhancing and getting more protein in their diet.
Yeah. Well, another thing that we talked about is kind of the role of that lifestyle coaching piece. And so
Mm-hmm.
I know that's been something we had some challenges figuring out, like you said, where exactly does this fit? Is it medical? Is it in that office visit? Is it with the
Mm-hmm.
dietitian? Is it with fitness? So I'm glad to hear that piece of it, and that it's kind of tying those groups together to make it a little more cohesive. But do you want to talk a little bit about the coaching piece and where that may fit in, and what that looks like in the structure of what you guys are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So within the multidisciplinary approach that we're taking, the departments are communicating and talking about touch points and action plans for these residents, but we really have recognized a need for the role of a lifestyle or health coaching within our organization. So we're in the beginning phases of exploring partnerships and really excited for what's to come. We don't know what that exactly looks like yet, but it's definitely on our radar and in our next step plans.
Because it does, I do remember very long ago doing my rotations in a not as nice of a community, but the role of the dietitian even in that type of a community had maybe been more traditionally for an annual assessment,
Mhm.
someone with a problem, and sort of shifting away from that to maybe everybody needs an assessment from a well-being perspective, but staffing and who does what, and elevating the need from someone who may benefit from a little more basic education to someone who needs a lot more surveillance and treatment. I think that's probably one of the challenges too from a human perspective.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And when we're talking about well-being, you know this, Nina, it covers a whole array of things. So even it's interesting because we've even seen how implementing something like a body composition analyzer impacts our residents who maybe weren't engaging or as social. So we're talking about the joy piece now, right? Or the life experience piece. And I think having and implementing some type of health coaching or lifestyle coach could really encourage and change some of those behaviors, because let's say they haven't been exercising, right, and there's a trip that they really want to go on. Well, this health coach would know about that trip and can encourage the resident to see where they are, get their data, and implement different aspects of fitness and nutrition, maybe rehab, whatever it may entail to it's really a ripple effect, I guess, because now hopefully they would start engaging and socializing more than they were before, even from getting numbers from a body composition analyzer machine, you know?
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think so. So, yeah, the health coaching and lifestyle coach, we recognize a need, and we're hoping that this would tie a lot of these pieces together that we're working on.
Well, I also think one of the things, coming from more traditional healthcare, where part of our struggle is really in the silo of every department and every provider. And even when we're, working within a comprehensive or interdisciplinary care team, there still can be touch points that feel very much like this is this person's lane and this is, the next one. So that's in all the things you've just said, the language that I'm hearing is that this is really all encompassing, it's very holistic, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
helping sort of tie together some of the maybe even more siloed departments that are now kind of working together around this data.
Yes, yep. And it's all part of the culture change and bridging the gap and changing mindsets.
So that's really, I think that's really impactful. So that makes me
Mm-hmm.
really happy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so tell me a little bit too. One of the things I wanted to pick your brain about is, there's the idea of getting a body comp device in one center and kind of getting everybody on board with that. But you're talking what, 28 centers across several states, and so tell me a little bit about maybe how that's going, and then what are long term. What's really the goal with this?
Yeah, so we definitely see body composition as part of our standard well-being assessments moving forward. So as we mentioned, we have it in our St. Andrews Estates community. Um, by the end of this year, we'll have it in two more of our communities, and beginning of next year, early 2025, we'll have it in four of our communities. And once we continue getting feedback and data on that, we envision that we'll keep expanding it into the rest of our communities moving forward. As again, we do think there is a holistic, comprehensive approach to our well-being initiative, and the body composition has gotten really good feedback and interest from our residents. So we're happy to see that that is something that they're wanting and appreciating. And I think that will include long-term things such as ongoing well-being education series that we are doing and implementing, and will include topics such as body composition analysis to inform and engage our residents in the benefits that this has to offer for them.
I like that staged approach is smart too. I think sometimes people get excited and are ready to put it everywhere. And so I think you guys really did a nice job with a pilot, getting feedback, implementing it at one sort of premier location, and then moving it out to the others. And then they start to hear about it and maybe want that too. So that's cool. I think that's really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Cool. Well, yeah, so we're getting ready to go to this ICAA meeting in just a couple days, actually. And so by the time this posts, it's probably over, and we will be kind of circling back on what we learned. But for people who don't typically go to those meetings, what kind of stuff do you enjoy at those? And what are the things that you're learning about in that patient population, or not patient, resident? I can't not say patient.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the resident population there, like what kind of stuff is at this conference that we're about to go to?
Yeah, so I would say the ICA conference is super beneficial if you are looking at that well-being initiative and culture change within your communities, because we're seeing as the baby boomers move in, this is what they're interested in and what they're wanting. It's not sick care anymore. It's, they're thriving, they're doing things, knocking things off their bucket list. And so at this conference, there's a lot of discussions around technology, as I mentioned, and how we can use technology as an ally, not just for our residents, but also for our team members to make their everyday jobs a little easier and refine some processes that need some, refining and enhancing as well, so we can stay on top of the curve. But yeah, just looking at well-being holistically, networking with other wellness coordinators, fitness directors, fitness and rehab teams within the communities, it's a great opportunity.
That's awesome. Yeah, last year I remember a lot of just kind of new and innovative things. They do a workshop before the meeting that really gets a deep dive into what's happening in the communities. I learned a ton, and it's just very, for me, just different than my usual kind of conference experience. And also just thinking again as residents, and really life where this is like everyday life, not just your medical visits and your every month or every 3 months appointment. So I
Yeah.
think that even in the traditional healthcare sense, we can lean into what's happening in this world a little bit more.
I agree completely. We're opening new doors for well-being and what that looks like for the older adult population.
I love that. Well, I'm going to try to move up there in my 40s.
Come on, Nina. Hey, whenever I'm ready and old enough, I'll be in there. I know exactly which community I want to move into.
Okay. You can tell me that later, but
Yes.
I really appreciate this conversation, and just, kind of the excitement that your team has had about doing something new and different. And again, for me, I think you guys are one of the first that I've heard of really rolling something like this out systematically in a different field. So I love the innovative nature of it, and I'm excited to keep collaborating and doing more with your team.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nina.
Well, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.